girl, Ice Gem, and this is episode 13 of Real Talk, which is just a segment on my channel where I shared my lived experiences. And today I'm going to complete the sort of whole series on moving and trying to get away from mould. The mould stuff might continue in other videos, but the move has been completed. I am in my new property right now. I've been here for 11 days. The last video I put out was pre-recorded, so yeah, I've been here for 11 days, still settling in. I think I did mention there's a little bit of condensation mould around the doors and windows here, so that will have to be dealt with. It's been the time of year where I can't contact the landlords or anything, but this week things are all a go. Yeah, and it's been tough. This is the first time I've moved since I've been a wheelchair user, and since my seizures have been this bad. There is some updates on the seizure stuff, but I might save that for next week, especially since I'm collating mould and moving in this video already. I don't think we need too many moving parts, because it makes it hard for me to focus what the video is. So yeah, I think we'll focus on completing the move away from mould for the second time. Okay, so obviously I was pretty dismayed when I signed the paperwork here and found the mould in the corners. The vent had been shut on this window, which is one of the ones where there's condensate mould. It wasn't shut on the balcony door window, which is out of shot and you can't see. And I couldn't see any sign of mould in that sealant either when I viewed, although I couldn't in that sealant. They've painted in here, and for some reason, since they painted, that mould grew. So yeah, I will be reporting that. But we're talking very low levels of mould. The property is 6 years old, roughly. The boiler man said the boiler was 8 years old, so maybe it's a little bit older than the records I looked at, because what I looked at said it was built in 2020, so I don't know. The boiler man, that was an estimate, it was 8 years old anyway, so let's say between 8 and 6 years. So my old property was a build from the 70s, 1970s, so significant age difference in the properties. Also, you might be able to hear the sound dampening is not as good in here. I'm really hoping it's not excessively echoey, but I can hear an echo coming back to me. That's because it's not solid walls, it's plasterboard. So hopefully as I fill the place up and get some stuff on the walls, we can dampen that a little bit, because I am concerned about that. This is my first video filming here. I have got my eye on a microphone, but I would have to change my setup quite a bit because I've lost my table that was in front of me. So let's get into that. I had to throw away a lot of stuff because of the mould. I did keep my desk, which it is MDF and metal, so it's a bit of a risk to keep that item. Anything that was plastic and metal I kept. As you can see by the little table here, this is plastic and metal. I've got a few chairs. The bed frame is metal, but the mattress needs replacing, and the sofa, which you can probably see as well, I have kept, which means I am cross-contaminating. Where I learned a lot of how to live with mould is actually on a Reddit support group. I'm on a few of them, but the main one of how to live and get away from mould and get better is toxic mould illness. Toxic mould exposure. And yeah, I am aware that I've cross-contaminated, But financially, I'm not in a place where I can just literally throw everything I own away. But I did throw a lot of things away. A lot of my furniture went. And the main problem now is financially, I'm really struggling because I've had to replace a lot of things. I've thrown a lot of things away. There's been some financial issues with switching over the properties where I'm paying rent on both places still, so that's an issue. The move was sudden, so I got into a little bit of debt there. Paying for someone to move. I can't drive. I've never been able to drive, but I can't drive because I have multiple seizures a day. So even if I did know how to drive, I wouldn't be able to. And my mobility is really bad, so I wouldn't have been able to do that move physically either. So yeah, financially the constraints are there. So I obviously needed somewhere to sit and somewhere to sleep. So I did keep the mattress and the sofa. These are two things that now need replacing, and I have to pay for someone to take away, which I'm in a new area, so I don't know how to do that. But I will learn all of that. The main thing, I do feel a little bit better. I have 2 new air purifiers. So I threw away, I can't even remember, 3 or 4 air purifiers of this size, big enough to do a 3-bedroom house, and 2 dehumidifiers big enough to do a 3-bedroom house as well, which is what was required to keep it dry in that last property. These 2 of them broke while I was in the moving process. It took 4 weeks between viewing and signing, because they had to make reasonable adjustments because I was disabled, and make the wet room. Hopefully I won't forget, we will get into the wet room. During that 4 weeks, 2 of my air purifiers broke. I was buying refurbished electric. They are fully cleaned from the company I get them from, which is Appliances Direct, but they are refurbished. They're only guaranteed for 6 months. And they break, unfortunately. But it sort of worked out because 2 of them broke during that 4-week period, and I sent them off, and instead of using them again, I slowly wound down on air purification at the last place, which did increase the contamination of the items I've brought. But it means when I came here, I've had 2 new air purifiers, which I could use, which I need to use, because I have got spores going on from the sofa, from the mattress, and from my clothes. So I haven't got a washing machine yet, or a cooker, oven, if you will. And with the festive period, oven was the highest priority. But as that passed, and I did have a microwave, I just made do with a microwave, and it became obvious that washing machine was a high priority, because all of my clothes are really, really contaminated. I did have 2 air purifiers in the bedroom where I kept the clothes, fully functioning, but the bedroom was the highest contamination room in the last flat. So yeah, as I'm unzipping the clothes bags and putting clothes on, all of the fabrics are really, really contaminated. And I'm probably going to have to throw a lot of the fabrics away. It depends on the materials. I will try and wash them, but like this, for example, which is just some, pyjama-y, loungewear-y type stuff. I just wear comfort stuff at home. It's made of like fleece stuff. So like the washing regimen I do is, well, it was pre-wash, but my new washing machine hasn't got a pre-wash. So it's wash with bicarbonate of soda or soda crystals, if it will allow it. This is pretty knackered, so I will try it with soda crystals. But I know fleecy stuff, really there's no point, to be honest with you. I just can't afford to replace even the loungewear at the moment. So at the end of each season, I'm going to be getting rid of everything that can't be washed and trying to get new clothes. It's going to be a really expensive few years to try and fix the mould stuff. I've completely forgotten what I put a pin in to talk about in a bit. I said I hope I wouldn't forget about it. Ah yes, Okay, so maybe I was trying to collate too much stuff here with the moving and the mould, because time is getting on. So let's hope I can squeeze this in. My old flat, I used to live in supported housing, and although I wasn't in a wheelchair yet, I was on the walking stick, and they put a full wet room in, which was full, the floor was done, the full room was tiled. The shower came all the way down to seated, and there was a bolt-on seat on the wall. There was multiple handrails, and the curtain came across that whole section of room. The room was bigger, the toilet seat was higher, and the door, all of the doors had the metal thing plank at the bottom, and they were widened for wheelchair use. This flat, the doors are not widened. They don't have that metal at the bottom. The toilet is low, and there is a rail next to it, but it's really hard for me to get off of it. And the shower doesn't have a shower chair. I've put a chair in there, I've got a chair that I could temporarily use. Not necessarily a shower chair, but it has to do. But I found when I'm in it, the shower's behind me, it doesn't come all the way down, so I'm having to twist to use it, even if I'm seated. And yeah, there's a lot of bending down. There's a ridge around the edge, which is a massive seizure risk for me for head injuries. It's all very anxiety producing in there. Literally hives just breaking out on my forehead thinking about even taking a shower, which I have been doing. I haven't had a seizure in there yet, thankfully, but it is affecting my mobility. I'm also damaging the door frames, so the thermostats I've had issues with, which will really affect my mobility. Temperature affects both my seizures and my mobility. If the temperature gets too high, I will have seizures. If the temperature gets too low, my mobility fully shuts down. And there's a couple of days I've had to use the wheelchair in the property. My mobility's got that bad. Obviously, there's a lot of physical labour at the minute with cleaning, unpacking and moving things that are too heavy. Quite frankly, I haven't always got help. I have had some help, but I haven't always got help, and I've injured myself lifting things that are too heavy. Yeah, so the thermostat thing's a weird issue. It gets too hot out here in the night for some reason, so I don't know what I'm spending on gas and electric, because I've gone from metered to build. So yeah. We'll get the bill and we'll see. But it's running too hot out here. There's 2 thermostats, and when I shut the bedroom door, it gets up to 24.5 out here. So that's, yeah, it's a nightmare. The flat is gorgeous. It's a really nice flat. It's just not quite, it's just not quite as good for my mobility needs. There are 2 disabled flats in this block, and this is how they were. There was no wet room in here, so it's really very much this is a disabled flat on paper, but in practice it's not necessarily suitable for wheelchair users. Like, even as an ambulatory wheelchair user, I'm struggling. Definitely would not be suitable for a full-time wheelchair user, which is how it's advertised and on paper as. I also can't get to the bin store in my wheelchair. There's a step to get into the bin store to put the rubbish out, so that's not accessible by rollator or by wheelchair. So I really have to push myself to get out, in and out, and there is a ramp down and up into the building, but the front door is not widened. The ramp is very skinny. Like, I'm running low on time, but one of my wheelchairs, the breaker's broken, and that's the one with the stabilisers on the back. So I'm using a different one now, which is a much cheaper one. They're both very cheap, but it's kind of worrying, like the rolling back thing as I'm turning that right angle. Very easily it could roll back and just as a step, if you know what I mean. Okay, so time's running out. I don't really want to run longer than 15 minutes, so I'm gonna leave it there. If you got to this point in the video, please hit the like button. If you identify with anything in the video or have any thoughts on anything I said, please, the comments are open. Feel free to add your comments. I do read the comments and I do respond as well. And yeah, if you enjoyed it and you want to know more about the things I have lived experience of, then please subscribe to the channel. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and peace be with you. Bye.